we're going to speak to you right now about the different projects of the Expo. So Jerónimo Blasco, the Director General of Expo 2027 Malaga. Thank you very much. Yes, it's obvious that all of this is very interesting. I think that Spain chose a very interesting topic, and I think it's interesting for everyone. So now, back to the field. Why? First of all, we have to win this. You need to support us so that we can do all of what we implement our project. So Malaga is the is the best project for the delegates and for the participants who are the heart of an exposition. There are lots of elements. Of course, all of the candidatures or candidates have interesting projects. But I think if something that stands out for Malaga, and which is why you should support us, is because we are a reliable city. International expos, we've only had 3 for the time being. We have 25 hectares. We only have 3 months, so it's difficult to manage, especially the economic aspect of this. If we don't work, if our model is not perfect, it's going to be difficult to manage it. We have a good international experience. We had the Olympics, we've had different expos. But I think that there is something that really worked for us in 2018 in Seville. We worked with the public and the private businesses, and it was very interesting. What we did, so it was 100% public. It was a social, which was shared by the different regions and the government. But then the management needs to be done in a very efficient way with the different professionals. And we've always been able to find this balance, and it's worked well for us. We've had great results, and with a good public control, and because it's very important that when we're doing something at this level, that everything is very transparent and everything is controlled and that it goes well. So another asset, what you see on our screen, is that the site of the exposition is already 100% public. So we won't have to buy anything because it's public. It belongs to us already. It belongs to the social society. Malaga's proposal is reliable. Our country signed BIE's convention. There is always the guarantee of the state, and unfortunately, this is not the case for all of the candidates. And in our case, the state is behind us. Another thing that's important, we did the different calculations, the economic, we did some calculations, and we want to show you why our revenue is reliable. This speaks of the economic reality of our country. So, for example, we say that we could have 168 million revenue from our sponsors, and it's because it's possible, because there's legislation in Spain that allows this. When we say that it's possible to have 136,000 revenue from the sales of tickets, we know that it's possible because we've done it before. We have to see if all the candidates can guarantee the same thing, because it's important to give reliable figures. And the bottom line needs to be positive. Because if it's positive, that's reassuring for everyone. So we have a base scenario, and then we have a best case scenario. So we have a project that's very flexible, because more there is the participation of businesses, the more we can add to this number. But globally, we can have a financial balance with a positive bottom line. So this, in the future, it will be a good example for other countries who host expos. So if you know the Costa del Sol, if you know Malaga, there are lots of places to sleep, lots of hotels. You can't say otherwise about Malaga. If we look at the figures of around the coast, we have 500,000 places to lodge people, hotels, and private lodging as well. See, people say, okay, well, you have lots of places for people to sleep. But one of the things that's characteristic about Malaga is that we have a good distribution of hotels around year-round. That's why we've shown in our application that we always have 500,000 places to sleep, and that's largely enough for the uses of this, for the needs of this exposition. And the viability of visitors. When we say that we can have 7.5 million visitors, is it true? Can we really say that? Where does this figure come from? For example, there have been 3 thematic expositions. There were 5.6 visitors at the one. There was one in Korea with 8.2 million, and there was one with Astana with 3.9 million visitors. So we can only be within this. So we could tell you that we could have 50 million visitors because we have more than 30 million visitors in Malaga. But it's just 3 months with 25 hectares, so we can't have more. And even if we could hypothetically have more visitors, it wouldn't be enjoyable because the lineups would be so long. So when we talk about having 7.5 million, it's because this is realistic. And it's important for people who organize expos and for participants. You want to have international visitors. You don't want just local people coming to your exposition. We can do that anytime we want. We can have a party in our city and lots of people will come. But in Malaga, we will reassure you that we will have international videos because people who work there but who live there as well. So we think that very easily we can have 7.5 million. Of course, it's possible that we could have more people who will come by plane, for example. However, experience has told us that people who will come by plane just for the exposition, that's not the majority of what we will see. It depends from city to city. However, you can be sure that when we tell you that we will have 7.5 million, it's because it's entirely possible. I just wanted to mention as well, really quickly, this is an exposition that has a lot of solidarity. And we're doing this so that all countries can participate and participate with dignity. We're talking about 250 meters squared. I don't want to talk about the other candidatures, but if we have sponsors, we already have the 50 million. I'm also going to put some categories up. I'm not going to go into detail. However, what we want to do, if we can have 250 million, so it's a possibility, there is a possibility for us to increase this figure as well. Another question that we're going to look at later with another issue that we'll look at with the architect later, the pavilions we want the pavilions to have a structure where people can come in and use the space in a good way. Sometimes in shared pavilions, there are tiny little capsules, sometimes for different social or cultural activities. And so we want to have a pavilion, not too small, but we will also have some shared spaces as well. In Malaga, people were surprised that we're going to be having a vote at the end of June, but we've already started working even before the vote. Why? Because people who have worked in similar projects, you know that 4 years is very little time to do everything that we want to do. We need to build the site, but we also want to change the city. And so we've already started working on everything that you can see online. We have a strategic programming, we have a declaration of regional interest. We did a study on accessibility. This week, we have 7 buildings who have put themselves forward as candidates for building the site. We want to be sure that we'll be on time and that we'll be able to get everything done. We are also trying to look at our carbon footprint with all of this, not only on site, but we also have to do it in regards to how people are going to be coming to the expos. Are they coming on planes? Are they coming in cars? So it's important to do that as well. When it comes to our study for accessibility here on the screen, we've taken into place the different reforms that we're going to be making in the city, which will allow for a sustainable mobility. So we have to see how many people will be coming by buses or by cars or by bike. It's important for us to grow our underground network. So this is a resume of all of the things that we're going to be doing. And if we do all of this work, it's because we're going to win. Because otherwise, if we win, we won't have enough time to do everything if we don't start now. So we're taking advantage of this to change our cities. Our strategic plan was approved by the different authorities. So we're going to have green interventions, new green spaces. Going to be 2 operations. We've worked in the historical center, working with water contamination. We're working on the metro in the north and the train stations. And we have to enlarge our bike paths. Because we've already looked into what we need to do and how we can do these things and what we need to do. So we have a good plan. We have to also look into where the people who will going to be working in the expos, where they're going to be housed. we were also trying to think what are we going to make a park for a corporate park for the new generation? Are we going to create co-living and co-working spaces, a cultural space and a university space? Parking, of course. This way that all of the corporate parks will not have any cars. So here is an example. We've transformed some of the pavilions into housing for the personnel, the Expo's personnel. And there's also co-working and co-living spaces. So the pavilions during the Expo will also have a usage post-Expo. Malaga is a very dynamic and a lot of revenue that will be able to come in that will compensate the work that we'll be doing. Thank you very much for your attention.
Bon, maintenant, c'est Javier Pérez de la Fuente qui va nous expliquer le développement.
Now we're going to have Javier Pérez de la Fuente, who's going to explain how we're going to develop these different sites. He's the head of architecture and infrastructure department at Gerencia de Urbanismo de Málaga. So he's going to give us a quick presentation.
To delve deeper. We're going to delve deeper into the master plan. To be more precise, into the main features of the Expo site, the Expo village. The Expo site is in this very strategically situated plot of land. Is 800,000 square meters. Public-owned land that is in the triangle productive of Malaga. In the north, you can see the University of Malaga, a very vibrant and dynamic one, with more than 40,000 students. In the west, the Tech Park, which is an entrepreneurial hub, more than 20,000 employees, especially in the sector, in the domain of techs, more than 200 firms, and the Good and Logistics Center very close. The situation of the plot of land is very interesting because it's very accessible, easily accessible and well integrated into the infrastructures of communication of the city. You can see on the slide the airport, the highway speed train terminal, the cruise terminal, the complete network highway allows almost in 15 minutes to access to the site. Sensitive to the context of the place, the master plan focuses on what the so-called genius loci is trying to create something that is born from its location rather than something from scratch artificially imposed upon it. For us, this is very important, understanding the site. As you can see, the plot of land creates a kind of a hinge, a link between the greenery in the north of the university and the ecosystem, the Guadalhorce River's ecosystem in the south with more than 90 hectares. Using the local potential, it's at the heart of our proposal, and we are going to see all the presentation. Consistently with the above, in the first design phase, we take notice of the stream, that little river that crosses the plot of land from north to south. Trying to the restoration of this natural element becomes a key aspect of the design, because it's a strong statement that nature and the city can work hand in hand to create symbiotic relationships. Here you can see we have talked about the river. Secondly, it was the creation of the forest of intelligence. The Forest of Intelligence embraces the river. As you can see, the ring infrastructure embraces the whole thing. It's a very simple but a strong idea. The Forest of Intelligence is an environmental proposal that includes all trees of what we call microclimate Mediterranean trees. It's going to be a class nature from all over the world, but at the same time, intelligent trees. It will be unique creations of technology that will provide shade and will provide clean energy to the site. You can see here that the venues are easily accessible. In the north, Jerónimo has said before that we have the underground in the north, we have the suburban train in the south, we have the complete network, highway network around the site. The parking sites are thought to divide the flows of peoples. The one in the west is going to host around 4,500 parking plots, parking sites, especially in relation with private transportation. The one in the east is going to host especially the collective means of transport. 3 entrances, 2 in the south and 1 in the north, make it very accessible, the whole ring infrastructure. This is one of the venues, one of the entrances to the venue, and it conveys the idea that architecture can lead the people, can guide the flows of people in a natural way. Here you can see the lower level of the ring infrastructure is universally accessible from the south. The 2 entrances reach at the welcoming plaza, in which you can have a full view of the magnificence of the place, with the river, the Forest of Intelligence, and the whole ring infrastructure. You can see here how the international pavilions are arranged, are organized in the ring infrastructure, and how the Forest of Intelligence houses the thematic pavilions and the national and regional pavilions. Furthermore, we can see 2 auditoriums in the ring that provide around 800 people each one, and 1 external auditorium in the Forest of Intelligence for more than 4,000 people. Restricted asset is in the west of the infrastructure of the ring that can provide control and different access for VIP persons if needed. Here's perhaps a very useful slide to understand the whole stuff. The Forest of Intelligence with the thematic and national and regional pavilions, with the roof that stretch the presence of the forest, the river in the center as how nature can assume a protagonism on the ring infrastructure with all the international pavilions embracing the stuff. It's very easy to understand how it works. It's very easy, the powerful form of the circle, very easily can everything understand how the space works. You can navigate through it without problem. Here you can see the medium level is equally accessible in the north by universal accessibility, because as we take respect to the topography, it's allowed this little slope. It's allowed to permit this different access. It's important to underline that the communication between both levels can be, of course, by elevators and by escalators, but can do as well through the Forest of Intelligence in an accessible and universal way. In this image, we would like to underline that the importance of international pavilions are under the importance of the ring infrastructure. As the circle is very powerful form, there's not going to be a place better than others. So it's a very democratic and in a way equalizing form to present all the countries together, to bring the people into the table to discuss about something. No? The international pavilions, as they cannot have their presence differently, they can personalize through different systems of prefab facades that will be very easily reused after the Expo. The upper level provides more international pavilions and a food court that can allow to enjoy the views of the whole place. We have paid close attention to the design of the international pavilions in different ways. First, flexibility is a key part of this design, allowing very different configurations, but at the same time, trying to convey the idea that every country has the right to have their own facade to the forest of intelligence. These in-between plazas will arrange the queues and provide spaces for waiting while enjoying the things happening around. Of course, national days and cultural events are going to be held during the Expo, and we have thought that the roof of the national pavilion is the perfect place because it provides a restricted space that allows different scale acts, and at the same time, it's very linked to the control access in the West. As in the same time, in the same way that the city has an invisible city underground that provides energy, the ring has an invisible ring underground that provides very useful operational uses during the Expo and is going to be a park site after the Expo. We have put many efforts in thinking about what's going to happen next. Well, as you can see, the Expo is divided into three main areas: the river, the forest of intelligence, and the ring infrastructure. The idea is that we would want to underline that you can make the strong statement that as you go to the center, you can go from urban to nature. But moreover, that nature and urban can work hand in hand to create a more sustainable future. Now, talking about Expo Village, just to say that I have promised Carmen that I would like to finish very early, but I don't know if I'm getting it. Okay, I'll go. The Expo Village is for 1,445 residential units. The thing is that it's deeply rooted in the urban planning of the city because they are going to be already done with or without Expo. That's very important for us. But of course, it's an opportunity to resist the city and to learn in reality all the principles we are talking about. This is going to be a truly unique residential project in which we are going to talk about proximity, we are going to talk about new ways of living, we are going to talk about smart city, but the master plan focuses on the prior experiences of Malaga, that perhaps neglecting the human component is by far the worst mistake that an inspiring smart city can do. So by putting people at the center of the equation, we think that it's not only about collecting data, but about how this data can improve, can enhance the quality of life of the people. When talking about the apartments, they are designed for climate adaptation, they are designed for thinking resources, they are designed for inclusivity. They are underlining the three pillars of sustainability. It's not only about environmental integrity, of course, it's about environmental integrity, but very importantly, it's about social equity and economic efficiency. I would say that Malaga's proposal for the Expo 27 aims to provide a new insight to this type of event, where iconic and necessary can go hand in hand to create a new model of urban development. And just to finish, I would like to close with these three words. Perhaps you already know, but it's our mantra: Malaga, we're better. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now is my turn. I'm going to present very, very briefly because I'm going to try to retrap we're out of schedule. And I'm going to present very quickly the theme, how the theme is going to be developed in our Expo, if it becomes a reality. Working. Going. Okay. Well, as I said, I'm going to be very quick because we are out of time and because everything that I'm going to express is developed in a document that you can find on our website. So I think it's better who has some interest, go through it calmly. And I'm just going to focus on the 3 or 4 ideas. First of all, the site itself is an expression of the theme. It's an expression of the theme formally, because somehow we are representing the famous circle of circular economy, which is one of the bases of design. And it will be also a site that will be a real example of eco-city during the Expo and for the new area of Malaga that will take place after the Expo. As Javier has expressed, the Expo has a ring and inside the ring, okay? Inside the ring, we are going to develop the 3 sub-themes in which we are organizing the general theme, Urban Era Towards the Sustainable City, which is the theme for our proposal. And it will be organized in 3 thematic areas. Urban Planet, in which we want to analyze how important the urban phenomena and how a strong impact it has in our world, in our planet. So it will be the urban perspective of the theme. A second big sub-theme, which we are calling Cities in Evolution, which is about innovation, and we understand innovation not only as a technological question, but also, and very important, very relevant, as a social question. When we talk about cities in evolution, we talk about how cities evolve thanks to technology, partially, thanks to digitalization, of course, but they have to evolve towards being more equitable and more fair. And the third sub-theme, that we call Citizens in the Eco-Cities, is the perspective of the urban dweller, is the perspective of the person who lives in a city and how life can be in the cities of the future. And it's a theme in which we will touch questions such as quality of life, equity, governance, and this type of things. So there are like 3 very differential some themes. I'm not going to enter into any of them. I'm just going to go, as I told you, there is in a booklet in our website. I'm just going to explain quickly how the organizer in one hand and the participants in the other can develop the theme. We are going to, inside the ring, inside what Javier is calling the Forest of Intelligence, we are going to develop 3 theme pavilions, one devoted to each of the sub-themes with a very differential type of approach from the point of view of the public. They are going to bring very different experiences. And an area that we are calling the Urban Laboratory. The Urban Laboratory is, well, somehow we are starting to do it now. And it's really a place where we want to help to develop projects and share them during the months of Expo. So it will be a place where we'll show projects that are the result of a call for urban innovation initiatives that we plan to do. There will be an urban agora, a place of discussion, a corner for discussion that we plan to organize with the NGOs, with the associations, and it will be a place of participation also for all the alliances and initiatives linked to urban sustainability that are now on the world. And that will be an area that we call urban innovation marketplace, where companies, startups, and all this type of initiatives can be also showed, and they will be changing along the 3 months of the Expo. We understand the 3 sub-themes as a tool for the participants, but not as an enforcement. I mean, we don't feel, and that was a recommendation that we heard during the Mission d'Enquête, during the Commission of Research. I don't know the name of the mission in English. And it was very interesting for us because in the last Expos, we somehow have been seeing how participants are organized in clusters, in areas, sometimes geographical, sometimes thematic. It was a suggestion, and we feel it's a good idea, that we will not use that system. We have a circle, we have a very equitative, very fair space, and we will, organizer and participants, we will debate, we will discuss which is the best place for each one, of course, on the basis of first come, first served, because the first will have more options when discussion, and also looking for a fair distribution of the points of interest along the site. And as I say, and I want to insist on that, the participants can use the sub-themes as a way to help them develop their participation. But they are not going to be put in a cluster. And as you all know, people with Expo experience knows, the participants' pavilions, together with international cultural activation, the gastronomy, and so on, constitutes really the big attraction of an Expo. So that's why we are very happy to know that we have a theme that can be really very easily interpreted from many different perspectives. Finally, we are going to organize an Expo Forum, a big number of sessions of debate, of exchange, of cross-pollination of ideas, with the collaboration of the participants along the 5 months. They will take place in the venue site, but also in some of the venues in Malaga, like the new auditorium, which is being built close to the port. And there will be a very strong cultural program also inside the site and also outside in the city. Well, of course, the normal things, opening ceremony, closing ceremony, National Day. We will have different sizes of venues in the city, as Javier has explained before. We will have a parade every day using the river. It will be a water parade, and a lot of street animation that we hope to organize with the participants, because this is part of the cities, this is part of Spanish cities. Street animation is part of our ADN in our cities, and we hope that Malaga Expo can be really a showcase of street animation from all around the world. And Malaga is a culture-oriented city with 18 museums, with a lot of cultural spaces, with a very, very relevant heritage, and it will, all of it, sum up to this great commemoration of urban life that Expo Malaga 2027 would be. So thank you. I finish here, and now I invite you to go to have a coffee, finally. Thank you.